Hey everybody, welcome back to Rocky Mountain Style. My name is Patrick. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you taking the time to click on the video. I do a lot of content on menswear, which includes boots, jackets, other types of shoes, flannels, all sorts of stuff. I also do watches, as obviously you can tell by the video today. I don't do as much watch content, but I'm planning on doing a little bit more regular content in 2024. So if that's something that interests you, consider following along as I go on my sartorial and horological journey. And the video today is one I'm really excited about because I did my first watch video on this channel a little more than a year ago. Call that a State of the Collection 2023. Today is going to be that update for State of the Collection 2024. So I've had one subtraction from the collection this year, well I guess over the last year, and 5 additions. So I'm pretty flush on watches at the moment. Collection's in a good spot. I'm happy with most of my pieces, but of course, as a watch collector, you're always looking forward to the next thing, right? It's hard to scratch the itch completely. So I'm going to start talking about the watch that I got rid of. I'm going to talk about the watches that I added to the collection this year, and then real quick, we'll finish up with what's maintained between years. So what did I get rid of? Well, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, I got rid of my Omega 007 No Time to Die watch, the Seamaster 300M Professional. So that was my first real luxury watch, my first watch that I spent a lot of money on. I bought it on the NATO strap when I got it, mostly because I didn't want to pay an extra $1,000 just for the titanium Milanese bracelet. Turns out that was probably a mistake. I think if I would have bought the titanium bracelet, I might have still kept the watch. But wearing it around, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to be a big fan of it on the NATO, even though I like how it looks in the pictures and how the dial worked with the the gray and gold in the NATO strap. But at the end of the day, I didn't like wearing it on the NATO. I tried it on some different leather straps because I'm a big fan of leather straps. You can see here, I've only for some reason got one video of it from a random TikTok I did a long time ago. But in general, I just wasn't super happy with it, and I knew that there was going to be other stuff coming down the line that I would want. So rather than wearing it and getting more scratches on it or wearing it out, I just sold it, got what I could for it. Didn't get as much as I wanted for it, but that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. And figured I would just stash that money away and save it for when something else came up that I might want to buy. Nothing wrong with the watch. I think it's still a cool watch. If you are into divers, which I was, and I'm kind of out of it now, and at the size it was, 42, close to 43 millimeters, it felt a little bigger than what I was going for at the time. So at the end of the day, got rid of it, and I don't regret the decision to get rid of it at the moment. So no harm, no foul, right? And the first watch I added in 2023 was this Vaer C5 Field Black. I was aware of the Vaer company for a while. I wanted to try something from them because I like their American assembly angle that they've got. Not a lot of American watches, as I'm sure most of you know, so I figured I wanted to pick one, try one, and maybe support the company. They don't really offer this exact watch anymore. They've gone for all their quartz watches becoming solar. So there is a C5 Field Black Solar. This is not the solar, just a regular quartz. I have this one on a strap from Artem. Instead of the Horween strap that I bought it with. I have that Horween strap on a different watch that you'll see in a minute. But yeah, big fan of this watch, beater watch. I wear it when I just want to throw something on and I don't want to worry about if I'm going to get something scratched up or not. So big fan of it. Probably won't ever get rid of that. Next watch is this one here, which is the Timex by Huckberry, Iron Man Flicks reissue watch. So Huckberry did this with Timex at the beginning of 2023, and through the YouTube channel I've got Huckberry affiliation, so I actually requested one of these. They were nice enough to send one my way for a review, which I did. Not a very good review. As it turns out, not having any sort of camera that's capable of doing macro shots, and just with my relative newness on the channel in general, I think it was a pretty bad review. Got decent views, decent response, but I wasn't happy with the review of the watch. But I do like the watch a lot. I had a couple people, after it went out of sale because it was a limited edition, I had a couple people ask me if I could sell the watch to them because they wanted one. But I didn't want to. I like the watch too much. It reminds me of my first watch that I had, which was a Timex Ironman, even though it was an older version without Indiglo. But big fan of this watch. I think it was $110 when Huckberry was selling it, so a lot for a no-feature digital watch. But for the nostalgia factor, I always thought it was worth it. And even though I didn't pay for it, I would have paid for it. Next edition, I had a pretty crazy 3 weeks in December just a few months ago. So we'll go with this one first. So this is my Rolex Explorer 214270. This is the Mark I version that has the shorter handset and the white gold Arabic numerals that a lot of people don't like. I did a whole video on this, and this was part of the Rolex CPO program. I did a whole video on it, so I'll leave a link here. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on the Rolex CPO program and ultimately why I was okay spending a little bit of extra going with the CPO program for this specific watch, you can watch that video. I won't go into it. I will say though, huge fan of this watch. I have zero buyer's remorse whatsoever. The one with the longer handset and the lume-filled Arabics is good too. I like it as well. The 39mm version, that is. But this one just feels a little less toolsy. It feels a little less common. You know, all the other watches that, you know, dive watches I've had, they have lume-filled indices and things like that, lume-filled Arabics. So I like the fact that this one's a little different, that it's a little bit quirky, because I kind of fancy myself that way anyways. I don't like to, you know, walk the line and go with the popular choice all the time. I kind of like to be out there. For me, I like this watch probably better than the other one that everyone else likes, and I'm happy with it. So at the end of the day, that's what matters. My first Rolex, big fan of it, and don't think I'll ever get rid of this. I wear it quite a bit. I put it on all sorts of different straps. I have it on the regular Oyster bracelet today. But yeah, there it is. And on the exact same day, when I was there with my AD, I've had my eye on this Oris Big Crown pointer date with the burgundy dial for a long time. I really like the shade of this leather strap, and I'm sure I could have got the leather strap by itself if I just wanted to scratch that itch, but I saw it there, and I used the opportunity of me buying the Rolex to negotiate a little bit of a deal on this. So I picked this up at the exact same time. So I bought both of these watches at the beginning of December. Now this one has really surprised me. I did a full review on it as well, so if you want to check that out, you can watch it here, along with a real in-depth view of Oris's history. But for under $2,000, and of course this does have an ETA-based movement, they add the pointer date complication, so it is complicated a little bit more than the base ETA 2824 that it's based on, but really, really happy with this watch. Another one that I don't think I'll ever get rid of. Every time I wear it, I love it. Get lots of compliments on it. So this is one of my favorite watches of mine for my wife. She likes the burgundy dial. So if you're thinking about ever picking up an Oris, if you like an Oris, I'd say go for it. You know, they seem like really good value for money. Their new calibers, the Caliber 400 series, their in-house movements with the 120-hour power reserve, those are really intriguing to me as well. And I think there's probably a good chance somewhere down the line I'll probably get into one of those, either as an Aquis or maybe a Pro Pilot, something like that. But big fan of Oris, so if you've been on the fence with Oris, I'd say go for it. I do not think you'll be unhappy. Okay, and that leads us to the last new edition of the year, and this is one I've not officially shown off on the channel at all yet. I've just done a few posts of it on Instagram and stuff. And that's my first new Rolex that I got the call for. So 3 weeks after I bought my certified pre-owned Explorer and the Oris, my AD texts me and says, hey, you know, Patrick, I've got something that you said you wanted. Would you like to come look at it? So that is this, the Rolex Datejust 41 126300. This has the bright blue dial, smooth bezel, and Jubilee bracelet. This is the exact configuration I wanted. I told my AD, I said, hey, there's really 3 watches that I'd like to be on the list for, and that would be this watch, and that would have been this watch with the mint green dial, and then that would have been the GMT Master 2 that people call the Sprite, which I hate. So the left-hand drive green and black bezel GMT Master. So I said, those are the 3 Rolexes I'm interested in. If you get those in, I'd love to have an opportunity to buy one. So this one came up. I went in, I looked at it, I loved it, and I bought it. So it was a little bit of a stretch, especially after buying those other ones. I had to, you know, move some things around, but I didn't want to let my first call go by without being able to pick up my first new Rolex. It was a fun experience for me. I enjoyed it. My AD's a really cool guy. I like spending time with him. I like, you know, driving from Colorado Springs up to Denver. sort of making a day of it. It makes it a fun event, and huge fan of this watch as well. Some people might be thinking, no fluted bezel, why not? Well, frankly, I don't really like how the fluted bezel looks. Again, going back to the Explorer, I don't always typically like what most people like, I guess. And the fluted bezel, while I appreciate it and its history and what it stands for and its uniqueness, I just really like this a lot better. And also, I tend to change straps out a lot. Probably won't do it a ton with this, although I did buy a shell cordovan strap, a leather strap to go with this. I think on a fluted bezel, any other straps just look kind of silly. You have to keep it on with the Jubilee, and then at that point, it's just really, really dressy and out there and look at me. And at least with this one, if I wanted to throw it on a leather strap, it's actually pretty understated, which is cool. So I can appreciate it, I can like it without screaming, hey, look at me. But with that said, I do really like the Jubilee bracelet, and I do kind of like how it screams, look at me. So again, big fan of this one. Glad I got the chance to buy it, but because of that, probably tapped out on my watch budget for a little while. So real quick, I'm going to go over the things that I have that are holdovers from last year's collection if you didn't see the first video, starting in reverse chronological order. So starting with the ones that I've had for the least amount of time. So that will start us with my JLC, jaeger-lecoultre, not sure how I did there, master control date. This is not on the strap that it comes with. I have it on the calf strap is what it came with, medium brown calf strap. This is a D-Lugs taupe colored Saffiano strap. It's hard to find curve lug straps. There's not a lot of options, but ultimately wanted a different color strap. Really like this one now, so big fan of how this looks. This was a 10th anniversary gift from my wife. I did pick it out, we picked it out together, but our 10th anniversary was a little bit ago, and this was what I got. Huge fan of it. I had no idea really about this watch. I mean, I'd seen it before. It wasn't on my radar. I wasn't even planning on looking at JLCs when I went to the dealer. Funny enough, I actually did a video on why I picked JLC, so I'll go ahead and pop that up here as well. I guess I've done more watch content than I realized. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing why I went with the JLC at that time, you can watch that video. I won't belabor it here, but it's a super classy watch. Every time I wear it, I enjoy it personally. I like looking at it. And I kind of like the fact that no one else really even notices it. If you just look at it, it looks like a silver dialed dress watch. Some people may even not understand that it's cost a pretty penny. They might think it's a Timex or something, which is fine. I've got one of those coming up. But yeah, huge fan of this. Never going anywhere. Hopefully pass this down to my son one day or daughter. Either one, whichever one's more interested in watches. So yeah, that's my JLC Master Control Date. Before that, I've got a G-Shock. I bought this specifically because this one has a step counter function. Not many G-Shocks have those. I would have figured by now a lot of those things would have been incorporated to most of the G-Shocks, especially the expensive ones. But I think I bought this for about 80 bucks on Amazon, specifically for step counter function because I was getting back into exercising. I wanted to make sure I was staying active, and this helped me remember that. So I wear this whenever I'm outdoors banging around, things like that. I don't wear it a ton, but I do like it, and no reason to ever get rid of something like this. So got my G-Shock in my collection. So well, I guess that's not true. I have two dive watches, but I guess my newest dive watch. Anyways, lost my train of thought. Orient Mako 2 with the red and blue bezel. I bought this because I just liked the dial configuration. I like the 12, 9, and 6. I think because it's reminiscent, at least to me, of the Explorer. I guess reverse foreshadowing. I ended up buying an Explorer because I like it. And this kind of reminded me of it. So as a dive watch, usually you see all indices on a dive watch or a different configuration. I just thought the balance of this dial was really nice. And I like this one enough that I actually bought a sapphire crystal from Long Island Watch, from Mark over there at Long Island Watch. He's one of the guys I watched a lot when I was getting into watches, so I appreciate his enthusiasm for watches, so shout out to him. But bought that, got it installed at my local watch shop here, so this now has a sapphire crystal, so it won't get scratched. Mineral crystals that scratch really bug me. I just can't deal with a scratch for some reason, so I knew I wanted to keep this watch around just because I like it. It was one of my first, cool watches that I bought several years ago. So I got that upgraded, and there it is. Orient Mako 2, big fan. Now, the other dive watch I have, this is my Hamilton Khaki field, scuba, Navy, Navy, field, scuba, whatever order those words are in, that's this one. Did not come on this leather strap. This is the Vair Horween leather strap I got with the Vair C5, but I like it on this watch. And this one was a 7th wedding anniversary present from my wife. Again, she and I picked it out together. She didn't pick it out for me. But at the time, this was my most expensive watch. I think it was retailing at the time for, I don't know, $780, something like that. And my local watch store here in Colorado Springs is thankfully a Hamilton AD. They don't have a lot of stuff, you know, Hamilton, Seiko, some other things. But got 20% off, so felt really good about the deal, but still was the most expensive watch I bought at the time. I've worn it a lot. It's got that 80-hour power reserve movement that the Swatch group uses. They call it the Powermatic 80 in the Tissot's. I think they call it the C10 here, the H10 rather, I believe. But it's been a really solid watch for me. Gets a lot of compliments actually. It's one of those watches where when you hold it, especially when it's on the bracelet, it's extremely heavy. And a lot of people just equate heaviness to reliability, right? You know, kind of like on Snatch. So 7th anniversary present, my only Hamilton. I will definitely own another Hamilton in the future. Not sure what it'll be, but I really like the brand, the history of the brand. So big fan of this. And we're almost at the end. So the first watch that my wife bought for me when I first got into watches back in 2019 was this Timex. I believe it's called the Metropolitan. Just a very simple dress watch. It's a 2-hander. The second hand ticks every 20 seconds, which I think is neat. It ticks 1/3 of a minute every 20 seconds. I recently replaced the battery in this because it ran down. That's the first time I'd ever replaced a battery in a watch, so that was fun to do for the first time. But just like a really understated, classy, very thin, I think it's like 7.5 mils thin, you know, cheap, reliable dress watch. And my wife bought it for me for Christmas, so happy with that. Don't wear it too often, but I bust it out every now and again, so happy with that. And thank you for sticking around for the end. I guess not quite the end, but the end of the collection. This was the first automatic watch I bought. This is the Glycine Airman. It's a 42 millimeter. They call it the World Timer. It's got a 24-hour bezel. It also has a 24-hour dial, which is kind of cool. It makes telling time a little bit difficult at a glance because you have to realize like, oh, you know, the hour hand's at the bottom. That doesn't mean it's 6, that means it's 12. But once you get used to it, if you were wearing it for a day or two, it's just as easy to read at a glance. But I bought this because I was looking for my first, you know, cool Swiss watch. Didn't want to spend a ton of money. And I kind of liked the history of the company. I watched a video from the Urban Gentry and TGV. He was talking about the history of the Glycine Airman being used by pilots in Vietnam. And so I thought that was pretty neat. I liked the idea of all that and being able to get a watch that at least had a little bit of heritage tied to it for, you know, gray market prices. For probably paid $275 for this, something like that. I mean, of course, this is owned by the Invicta Group, so it has that astronomical MSRP $2,000 or something like that, right? But you can pick them up for $300. So I actually do like this watch. It's the biggest watch I currently own, not counting the G-Shock, of course, at 42 millimeters. It has a really nice leather strap that's been, you know, I put it on other watches that have 22 millimeter lugs. But at the end of the day, it's not really worth anything for me to sell it. I don't wear it a ton, but I like it. And I like the fact that it's, you know, my oldest watch. So I'll probably never get rid of this either. Okay, so that's the end of the review of my watch collection for 2024 and the state of my collection. So where will I go in 2024 and beyond? What am I looking at? Well, I don't have a Seiko in the collection anymore. I've owned several and I've ended up selling them. The last one I sold, I regret, was a Seiko Turtle. It was a Save the Oceans, the one with the shark fin that's kind of hidden over by the 8 o'clock Arabic. Sold that to a guy here just to raise some money to buy something else. And yeah, kind of kicking myself for that anytime I think about it. I liked that watch and there was no reason to get rid of it. So looking for a Seiko maybe, probably not a dive watch, maybe something in the Cocktail Time series or the Alpinist series. But looking at those, also have my eye on the Christopher Ward C63 Sealander, specifically the one with the green dial and the brown leather strap. I just think it looks fantastic, and Christopher Ward's been getting lots of good press lately with you know, their new releases, the 12 and the Belcanto and all that stuff. So I kind of want to get in on the train before it's too late. They seem like a brand that's, you know, on the ascent, and who knows, maybe they'll start aggressively raising prices to slot in there with more luxury Swiss pieces. Who knows? That's just speculation. But Big fan of the way that C63 looks in the 39 millimeter. As far as luxury watches, I don't really see myself buying any more true luxury watches this year just because I spent so much at the end of last year on those two Rolexes and the Oris. But if something happened financially or if I found a good deal, you know, I've always kind of wanted an IWC pilot's watch. I could probably buy used Mark 18 or maybe even a used Mark 20 if I could find a good one. That would kind of be as like a luxury replacement to the Vaer C5 field watch that I have. Also, I'm kind of interested in the American side as well. So Weiss, or maybe it's Weiss, not sure which one it is, but the Weiss watch company making watches here in America, Cameron Weiss. And he's only got a few designs, all field watches, and I do like them, but I don't love them. They haven't really grabbed me. But if he came out with something that really grabbed my attention, I could see myself maybe stretching and pulling the trigger on something like that, just because I'd really like the American watch industry to keep going, and I'd like to do my best to support that if I could. Long-term things, I've always wanted a Breitling Navitimer. I don't know which size or which dial configuration, but I've always loved the complexity of the dial. So those are things I look at every now and again as well. And then again, you know, if you got a call from the AD for a Rolex at MSRP, you always have to consider that. I think the next one I would probably want, and I don't know if it'd be too small for my wrist, would be the 37 millimeter Yachtmaster. I think that's probably a hard one to get. I don't really know, but not a huge fan of the sub, and most GMT Masters are just okay. So probably won't get into another Rolex for a while would be my guess, but that's okay. I've got two, and that's enough for anybody. Okay, well, if you made it to the end, truly appreciate you doing that and listening to me ramble about watches for however long this has been. Again, Rocky Mountain Style. If you want to follow along with all this stuff I do, please consider stubbing. Please consider subbing. I would really appreciate it. And that's all for today. Thanks again. Bye.